International Dairy Week presents Around the Barn. Hello, I'm your host, Casey Treloar, and this will be the online space where those in the Australian dairy industry can connect with each other, as well as those right around the world in the lead up to Australia's premier dairy show in January 2022. This will be the one-stop shop where you can catch up with our sponsors, exhibitors and judges to talk all things cows, technology and showing down under. So we're super excited now to welcome our second international guest to the podcast Around the Barn. We've got Nathan Thomas all the way from the US. Nathan, welcome to the podcast.
So Nathan Thomas here. I own, a partner in Triple T Holsteins with my father and my brother and my wife Jenny and our three kids, Colton, Kendall, and Cameron. They're all of us are very involved in the farm. I guess I'm the only one that's on the farm. I would say day to day. Jenny works for Select Sires. My brother works for the town, and my father's retired.
First of all, tell us a bit about what you do over there in the US with Triple T.
I guess at Triple T Holsteins, we're a small farm. We milk 30 cows. We also have a hay business here. We board a few cattle, mainly for Vieira Dairy, and also we look after a few cows for Borbas, and we have some partnership animals that are boarded as well. But our business, I guess, is more buying and selling, breeding and developing, and locating some elite animals for clients over here.
And Nathan, you've got a bit of a new partnership with Vieira Dairy Farms over in California. Can you tell us a little bit about how that evolved and what that role does for you?
In 2000, and I believe it was 18, actually Hank Van Exel had called me and said that they needed he had a guy that, some people that needed a big time Jersey show cow and like the real deal kind that could maybe win the whole thing. And I said, well, the only one I knew of that was available was standing in my field, and she was due about 10 days before Madison, and that was Showdown Justine. Hank we left it at that, and at Madison, they bought Justine that year from us. She was 11 days fresh, so she was 10th, but then went on and because she was too fresh there at Madison, but went on at the Royal, was intermediate champion, beat the cows that won at Madison, and was reserve grand as a junior 3-year-old. And then that next spring, we bought them a couple more cows, took them to the show in California, to their spring show, and they won there. And then they decided then that they wanted an exhibitor string and wanted to keep buying more animals. So, we bought them, I guess, the original string. And yeah, it was 2009. This would be 2019. We bought Brylan, Valson, Spritz, and Justine calved back about a month earlier than before. So that fall was the first year that they ever exhibited at World Dairy Expo. I believe they had 6 cows and 2 heifers, and they had grand champion and reserve grand champion that year, as well as winning premier exhibitor, and went on and did the same thing. That year, Spritz was grand, Justine was reserve. They were just fresh. And then we went to the Royal that year, and Justine and Spritz switched. Justine was grand, Spritz was reserve. And I guess the rest is history. And we've continued to purchase animals for them. Only a select few. Like this year, we only they bought Summer Breeze Tequila Gale, actually from my daughter, Michael Heath, Will Yeager, and David Jordan, the cow that was reserve grand at Madison. Last year, in 2009 or 2020, the COVID year, they purchased in our sale the Vaden Fern cow that won the junior 3-year-old class this year. And we've added a few in here or there. I believe now they have 10 cows at our farm and 4 heifers. But I guess to give a backstory on Vieira's as well, they milk close to 6,000 cows in California on multiple farms. They're very, very involved in the genomics, especially in the Jersey with CMEX. I believe at one time they had 3 bulls in the top 10, maybe even the number 1 bull. And originally the show program started, I think, for them to help build their brand name, to sell their genomic bulls. And then as they got involved, they really liked the show thing, wanted to continue it, and we've had a good relationship.
Yeah, and Nathan, obviously we've just come off
an incredibly exciting week. World Dairy Expo. Look, for Vieira, essentially, they won the trifecta. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So the heifer, Jade in there, she was my partner with on a lot of cattle. Michael Heath, we have a sale together every year, best of Triple T and Heath. And he had a July calf. He said he thought it was one of the better ones he'd ever bred. And he was a little bit skeptical to put her in the sale at first because he didn't think she'd be big enough or whatever because she's off age. I said, well, she's good enough. She'll bring enough money. And he put her in, and I seen her there. And I mean, I told Peter, he kind of asked, said, hey, we want to buy a couple heifers. So I said, well, I don't care if we buy two or one or you decide, whatever. But I said, you're going to buy that heifer no matter what she brings. And he said, okay. And so they purchased her. And then they also purchased, Michael had another heifer, a September calf, Tango, SV Tequila Tango in the sale. And she was a heck of a calf as well. And Peter said, well, is there another one we need to buy? And I said, well, let's buy this calf too. So we purchased both of them. Tango won the September calf class at Madison, was pulled out for junior champion. And Jaden won the summer yearling class and was junior champion and reserve supreme champion at Madison. And then the Summer Breeze Tequila Gale cow, a little bit of a backstory on her, kind of a crazy story. But so I buy each one of my kids a calf pretty cheap when they're 5 years old. And I needed a calf for our middle daughter, Kendall. And I was flipping through a catalog in Canada, the OIS cell. And there was a tequila calf from a David that I had all Vandenberg breeding, born the end of January. The sale was in March. I called a buddy of mine, John Kingdon. I said, hey, if you're going to be at that sale, if that's a pretty nice calf, here's, X number of dollars, buy it for, anyways, needless to say, the calf brought like half of that. I won't say what she brought. It's kind of, it wasn't much money, but she come down. My daughter loved her. My daughter doesn't like to resell animals, so that's why we purchased her with pedigree. So she didn't do much for her as a calf. She showed her locally at our fairs, and I don't know, got 5th, 6th, 7th with her. Then the next year as a winter yearling, because she was off age, she grew, and actually she won the Royal as a winter yearling, was all Canadian winter yearling. Then she calved the first part of January in 2020 as a senior 2-year-old, beautiful, calved in beautiful. Obviously, we didn't show anywhere that spring because of COVID, and wasn't really sure if we were going to have any shows for the fall. But so I guess she maybe wasn't as ready in the fall of 2020 as what she would have been had we known there would be a Madison or whatever. And she was a little bit heavy, but nonetheless, she won our state fair as a senior 2. And then there was no Madison. So actually my wife and Aaron Eaton, Eddie Bew, and a group of us put the show on called the North American Open last year. And she was second there. Well, Kendall, everyone had been bugging Kendall for a price on this cow. And I didn't push it because I kind of knew what she would be this year. Heard a price her, and she absolutely did not want to do it. But anyways, so at the show, Michael Heath, Will Yeager, and David Jordan approached Kendall and offered her a substantial amount of money for a 8-year-old girl for her. And I said, well, Kendall, I think you should sell her. And she says she bawled and cried or whatever. So we're friends with all those guys. And we said, well, look, they sold 3/4. Basically, Kendall sold 3/4 of her to them. She kept the quarter of the cow herself. So the cow calved again this year in May. And looked tremendous. Like, she was everything you thought she would be, and then a little bit more. So I told Vieira's or Peter, I was like, this cow's the real deal. You need to buy her. And so they did, and Kendall was happy because the cow gets to live here. And that was the main thing. She didn't want the cow to go somewhere else. And then, so that's the scoop with her. And then Bryland, Valse, and Spritz. Actually, we purchased her from Rivendell in 2019 as a 5-year-old. And I judged Ontario's summer show, I believe it was in 2016, the Jerseys. And made her intermediate champion there. And I actually called Rod Rankin at Rivendell and told them that they needed to buy that cow, that I thought she was a cow that would do well as a younger cow, but when she was an older cow, was built to possibly a cow that could maybe win the whole thing. So they did. Rod went up and looked at her, and he bought her that day, and then took her down there. And I think she was like maybe 5th at Madison as a junior 2, and 2nd as a junior 3, and 4th or something as a 4-year-old. Well, then Rivendell was having a tag sale at the farm in June or July of 2019, and I was on sales staff. So went there, whatever. They had a good group of calves. And Rod had kind of said that maybe the owners were wanting to start getting out or sell some of the better ones, or they didn't know exactly what was going to happen there. So Spritz was fresh about maybe 45, 50 days. So I told Rod to get a price on her, and he did. That's when we bought her. That's when I bought her for Vieras. So that's kind of the backstory on those 3 champions.
Well, Nathan, I mean, look, a lot of what we're talking about is International Dairy Week. Obviously, COVID meant we couldn't have it last year, but we are this year, but we are planning on it for 2022 in January. Nathan, it's a show you spent a bit of time at. Can you take us through, why you've been able to come down to Dairy Week over the years?
Well, a little bit of my backstory, I guess, is I fitted cows for 15 years. And like, I guess I didn't grow up on a farm. We started our farm now. It got established in 2006, but I guess it was kind of a 4-H project that went crazy. But in the early years, around 2004, 5, 6, like I fitted with a good friend of mine, Matt Templeton, which all you guys know. He helped us. Me and him both helped Maple Lawn over here. He had asked about coming to Dairy Week a few times, and it just didn't work out. And I was actually, my fitting career was pretty much winding down, and I was a farmer. And Lynn Boyd and Haley Menzie there, they had messaged about helping them, and Matt had gave him my number and said I would get along good with them. And Matt messaged, said, "Yeah, come over. You'll like these guys." So I did, and then I enjoy the people over there. Tremendous people, really, really good cattle. And so I came over, I think it was 3 or 4 years in a row, and helped them. And I'm also really good friends with Willie McKay. He actually he lived with us for probably 2 or 3 years there before he went to Butler View, helped on the farm a lot, owned a lot of cattle together. So I have a fair few friends over there. It's a fun place, great cattle. The flies are a little bit pesky, but other than that, everything is, I really like Dairy Week. And it's a good change of pace from our sub-zero weather here in January.
Look, how does Dairy Week compare to obviously the big shows over there in the US?
I mean, it's your guys' national best show, just like this is our best national show. And I hate to compare cows you see from country to country, without seeing them together. And the cows that, because of your guys' climate and the way your cattle, they have to walk a lot and graze, and like just different atmospheres. I think a different kind of cow wins over there sometimes, like than over here. But I mean, all tremendous cows in their own right, for sure.
Look, Nathan Thomas, it's been incredible to chat to you as our second international guest for our podcast Around the Barn. Obviously, being able to reflect on the incredible World Dairy Expo that's just been had. I'm sure that the highlights of that show will help pump up Australians to get ready for International Dairy Week. So, look, Nathan, thanks so much again for your time and for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
Well, now we're joined by Glen Barrett, the General Manager from Jersey, Australia. Glen, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on board.
Thanks, Casey. Great to be here, and certainly looking forward to IDW and an opportunity to back up into Tatura and get the members back around the show ring. So we certainly miss those across the breed and across the industry.
Absolutely. Look, Glen, take us through Jersey, Australia's involvement and just presence at Dairy Week when it is on each year.
We've been a long time involvement there at IDW, obviously, since I think they started with the Holstein cows as a single breed. But as soon as the Jerseys come on board, we certainly had a strong involvement up there at IDW. Love having the tent around the ring and the opportunity for members to come across the week. And, we're just excited about being there. It's probably one of the few opportunities as an industry that the entire herd improvement industry comes together on an annual basis. So, and I think that's a significant part of it. And obviously with the cows in the ring, certainly, they're the best cows across the country, and certainly we think the best cows across the world as well. So it's great to be there. And we love the things we do there. A couple of years ago, we introduced Jersey milk coffees as part of what we do there at IDW. So that's been a bit of a feature across our site, and certainly glad to, very happy to get involved with obviously the charity effect, that opportunity there at Dairy Week as well. So, the gold coin donation for a coffee goes to charity. And last year we brought back some donuts. So we delivered donuts to the members, donuts and coffees to the members on the Wednesday, and members greatly appreciated that as they were, getting their cows ready for the show that day. So we'll certainly be doing that again this year.
Fantastic. We'll certainly love those donuts early in the morning. Glen, do you guys have specific plans for Dairy Week in 2022?
Certainly we're doing the coffees and donuts there again. We are thinking about trying to put together a member function on the Wednesday afternoon as well. But I think our most significant focus this year is we've been working on the Jersey Most Profitable Cow project for the last sort of 6 to 8 months, which is coming to the end. So that's showing some great advantages and opportunities for the Jersey breed. Not sure if you're aware, but the Jersey breed's probably the only breed across the globe that's in a growth strategy. So which is terrific. I think those are profitable advantages of the Jersey cow are coming to the fore. And I think we'll start to see that more and more, particularly with greater focus on sustainability and the environment. That the Jersey cow advantage is coming to the fore, and I think that will offer benefits to farmers across the country.
Absolutely. So take us into a bit more detail about this project. How did it come about?
It's come about, around the boardroom table. The board's always considered that the Jersey cow, as you would expect, is the most profitable cow. But, this year we did have a good, financial year last year. So we've invested some of those funds into the project to actually put some evidence behind what the members consider to be fact. So, and we engaged Dr. Steve Little and Scott Barnett to do the work for us. And they've been working on that since earlier this year. And the important thing is they wanted to make it very clear they didn't want any contrived result. We don't want contrived results as well. So they've had a fairly much a free rein to proceed through that project and bring that, as a completely an evidence-based outcome. So, and it's got what we're starting to see there. So we're seeing probably upward towards a 30% advantage for the Jersey, producing 30% more energy corrected milk per 100 kilos of body weight. So it's a significant production advantage. If you combine that with the benefits on heat tolerance, longevity, most of the health traits, probably except for milk fever, where there's an advantage for the Jersey cow. Like those key profit contributors to farm profitability are starting to flow through, and that's the work that Steve's been doing on global data review and evidence review. And Scott's doing a return on investment calculation. So he's looking at the economic impacts as well. So, we hope to launch that at Dairy Week, and certainly a key part of where we're working towards, and good to be able to talk to members about that, at the stand, and hopefully we'll be able to get Steve up on one of the IDW seminars.
Of course. And look, obviously you've sort of been launching it in January, but what's the feedback been from, I guess, breeders, so far?
Look, so far it's only just been through the membership, through the board, and obviously our genetics committee have been providing that review and feedback. So far it's quite positive. So it's certainly, certainly start, having that evidence, it certainly helps out where we want to go on a marketing strategy for the Jersey cow. And I think it certainly supports our growth strategies for the breed. We want to see the breed up to 25 to 30% of the national herd. We're currently at 15. Probably 10 years ago, that was at around 10, 11%. So we have seen that improvement, and we want to continue to see that.
Of course. Look, Glen, the Jersey breed's really gained quite the reputation for, showcasing some of the best jerseys in the world in the ring at Dairy Week. How have you seen the breed evolve in terms of getting to that calibre at Dairy Week over the years?
Oh, look, I'll be completely honest. I've probably only been working for Jersey Australia for 3 years. So I did milk cows back in my younger days, but I left cows in 2003. But to come back into the breed, I think the quality of the Jersey cow here in Australia is at the upper echelon across the world. And I think, there's probably some other populations who are probably quite happy to put themselves up as world best, but we think we are. And, when we look at how the Jersey cow, the quality of type in the Australian Jersey, feet and legs, others memories, they are at the top end there. And, we're starting to see around the globe, more and more breeders looking to Australia for their next breeding program, and that's terrific. And I think that's the great work of some of the AI companies who have those bulls on market, who are starting to export them across the globe in more and more numbers. And certainly the opportunities are, we see, what Declan did with Fernleaf, took across to the US there a couple of years ago and showed at World Dairy Expo, come in third. So that was, a significant gain for the breed, that the cows are as good, are as good here in Australia. They can compete on the world stage. And, from a grassland genetics environment, we are the best grassland genetics cattle in the world. And we do know that the cows work in all farming systems, which is important. So, we see a lot of future benefit for the Australian Jersey, and we want to see that expansion into that global marketplace because, we are an untapped market on the global stage.
Absolutely. And I guess, Glenn, not just in the show ring, but we've seen the development in terms of prices in the sale ring. I mean, is it crazy to think how far, I guess how much jerseys are attracting in terms of that top dollar?
Oh, look, I think the best jerseys are starting to gain more and more price. I think that's all counts across. It's been a remarkable industry the last probably 12, 18 months for the dairy industry in sales, etc. And, we look at Avonlea's sale there last week, which was just astronomical, and congratulations to the Gardner family. But, we've got the, Canberra dispersal sale this coming Wednesday, which I think will top what we saw earlier in the year for their first stage. Our Dairy's finest sale at AGM with over an $8,000 average. It's, breeders out there are having a good time, prepared to invest those bit of spare money into some quality genetics, and I think that's an important part of it. And the Jersey's right up there, and we're starting to see that price growth, that we see across the country.
Absolutely. Well, Glenn, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast of Around the Barn. It's been great chatting all things Jersey cows and the breed, and obviously just how excited we are to see each other at Dairy Week next year. Thanks for joining us.
No, thanks, Casey. Thanks to yourself and, Stacey, Declan and the IDW team for the opportunity. We look forward to Dairy Week, and please, if you're at Dairy Week, call in for a Jersey milk coffee. We're happy to make you one.
We'll see you there. Well, now we're very excited to introduce our Jersey judge for International Dairy Week, none other than Brian Wilson from Shirlinn Jersey, who many of you will know of. Brian, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Casey. Pleasure to be here.
First of all, congratulations on being selected for being the Jersey judge. What was that moment like, getting the phone call?
Oh, certainly great honour to be invited. Really excited and looking forward to it.
Of course. And look, Brian, can you take us a bit over, I guess, your judging history?
Oh, well, been judging a fair few years now. Started when I was reasonably young. I've been fortunate enough to judge around most areas in Australia and New Zealand 3 times. So, I've sort of judged at all the royal shows in Australia. So, very lucky.
Of course. And look, Brian, obviously those in the Jersey breed and many other breeds have come to know Shirlinn Jerseys quite well. Can you take us take us through in a bit of background as to how Shirlinn Jerseys evolved?
Oh, well, Mum and Dad started Shirlinn Jerseys off from scratch just over 50 years ago now. They were, up until that stage, they'd just been share farming and put a few cows together, but not that many. And then, got the Shirlinn stud started, and then were able to rent a farm and then put a herd together. And that's when it got serious, I suppose, the breeding side of it. And it's just gone on from there. And Vicky, my wife, and myself took over in 2000. So, but Mum and Dad have still been involved since then as well.
And the next generation's sort of looking to take over now as well.
Yeah, well, Todd's full time. Our oldest son. Also got Brooke, our daughter, and younger son Matt. But Todd's full time. Full time with the farm, but we've also got a milk factory that we do our own processing. So Todd's running that. So it takes up a fair bit of his time at the moment. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, can you take us through, I guess, why you guys ventured out to do your own milk processing?
I suppose we'd always talked about it. doing it. And then the opportunity came up to purchase that already existing milk company in Tamworth where we are. So we took that opportunity and purchased it. And I suppose we thought that, we were like a lot of farmers, always complaining about the milk price that we got and that sort of thing. So we decided to take things into our own hands and purchase that just 4 years ago now. And it was, not easy because that was right at the start of the drought when we purchased it. So the first 2 years was just, probably the worst drought ever up in these areas. And so it wasn't easy, but it's all going good. And we've sort of grown it to when we first purchased it. And we're really pleased with how it's going.
Incredible. And how do you guys go in terms of balancing, I guess, milking cows, but then also producing your own product as well?
Yeah, well, there's a fair bit involved. We're lucky, I suppose, that we have good workers, both on the farm and in the factory side of it. But there is a fair bit involved, and I suppose we're lucky that we've got a fair few family members involved, as you said, 3 generations. So we're pretty lucky that way. But yes, it does take a bit of managing.
Of course. And Brian, I guess for you guys, I mean, how long have you been showing at Dairy Week, and what makes you come back year after year?
Yeah, we started sort of there, I think it was about 8 or 9 years ago was our first show. And we haven't been every year. So obviously, the last 3 or 4 years we haven't been. So it's a long trip. As you know, we're about 13, 14 hours for the cows on the truck from here to Dairy Week. So, we sort of made a decision that we probably wouldn't be able to go every year. It's a big commitment for us to do it. So just when the timing's right and the cows are right, we'll show. And we were sort of a little bit undecided this year what we were doing. And then I got invited to judge. So that sort of made the decision. But, it's a big commitment. But, we like to go if we can. And obviously if you can win there, it's great promotion for your stud.
Absolutely. Look, one thing we're super excited about for Dairy Week next year is for the first time we're going to have associate judges, and we've recently just announced our associate judge in the Holstein judging, but we're also going to have an associate judge for the Jersey show. Of course, that will be Lachlan Fry all the way from WA. How excited are you to have an associate judge and someone like Lachlan Fry by your side in the ring for next year?
Yeah, that's exciting, and it's obviously a new concept for Dairy Week. But I'm looking forward to that. I've known Lachlan for a long time and his family, and he's a great young guy, and I'm really looking forward to having him work with me in the ring, and it should be good.
Have you worked with an associate judge before, or will this be the first time?
No, this will be the first time I've had one. I was an associate judge years ago in a Holstein state show in New South Wales, but that's my only personal experience with it.
Hey, Brian, you will be in the centre of the ring for one of the biggest shows of the week. Of course, that is the Jerseys. Anything particular you're looking for in the breed for next year?
Oh, not really. I mean, the Jersey show over the last few years has just got such a great reputation for being a high quality show, and I'm sure that'll be the case again. And I'll be looking for the best cows that I'll be looking for, so I'm sure there'll be plenty there. Really looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining us for the podcast, and again, congratulations for being announced as the Jersey judge for Dairy Week in 2022. We look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks a lot, Casey.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Around the Barn. We hope you enjoyed hearing from each of our guests. If you like what we're talking about, make sure you hit the share button. That's all we've got time for. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.